Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Robert Wilkins. On this cloudy, rainy day, as we get wind from the remnants of Francine, we concerned citizens at Auburns Voice are producing our third special edition of PBMs, Pharmacy Benefit Managers. This edition is titled, Why Did Tennessee Have PBM Reform 3 years ago? As of today, Alabama has no PBM reform. None. Zip. Nil. Zero. Goose egg. Zilch. Other states follow Tennessee PBM reform, like Arkansas and Oregon and Kentucky. But what does Alabama do? They create a year-long study group. Wow! While our independent pharmacies are rapidly falling by the wayside, this study group was assigned by the Speaker of the House, Nathaniel Ledbetter, is slowly attacking the PBM issue while independent pharmacies are rapidly taken from the Alabama Examiner. What is the mystifying purpose of this convoluted study group, if not to offer transparency and a path forward for independent pharmacies and their humble customers in Alabama? Is this merely some frivolous delaying tactic by Ledbetter to circumvent the Alabama Open Meeting Act and prevent independent pharmacists from witnessing the Star Chamber deliberation that will determine their fate? Under the scrutiny of examining the so-called study group, it becomes readily apparent that its inherent nature is at best unethical and could even be considered immoral based on two sets of criteria. It is indeed a legitimate legislative committee. This meeting should have been open to the public, which is clearly it was not. If it is an illegitimate bastard committee, which is not sanctioned under the Alabama Constitution and therefore unauthorized, then it fails to cut the mustard as well. In other case, the study group has merely become a vehicle for backroom deniability, and in turn leads us to the inevitable question, which one is it? Supposedly this year's long study group will research the plight of independent pharmacies in Alabama, what are being driven out of the businesses by middlemen known as Pharmacy Benefit Managers, PBM. Don't forget those names. They need to be stricken from Alabama. But it only takes 2 weeks for Opelika businessman and former state senator John Rice to figure it out. Think about that. 2 weeks instead of 52. I don't know how to do this. 52 weeks. While the lobbyists and the study group decides the fate of our independent pharmacies. They only had to comfort their personal greed, while someone like John Rice is a person who has a history of helping people in need through his enormous energy, concerns, and determination. I made a statement to a close friend of mine. I said, John Rice is not just smart. John Rice has put his knowledge and love for the state of Alabama into action. I wish that the Alabama House Speaker and his study group would do the same and save our pharmacies. As the study group met on August 29th last month, Valley Pharmacy co-owner Craig Moore was one of the guests prevented from entering the meeting, along with other pharmacy staff who had come from across the state to attend, which included Huntsville, Ashland, and Dothan. While pharmacy owners were denied access to the study group, they were welcomed the lobbyists of Blue Cross Blue Shield of Alabama, lobbyists of the Business Council of Alabama, BCA, better known, lobbyists of the Alabama Farmers Association, better known as ALPHA, and CVS to attend, but not a single pharmacist were allowed. We, the Alabama citizens, believe that Governor Ivey must and will save our local pharmacies while calling for an emergency special session. No time to waste, Governor. We need your moral courage, Governor Ivey, to stand for the little guy instead of the big guy. Pharmacies are going broke every day, while PBMs are getting richer and richer at the expense of the insured and the pharmacists. The oldest pharmacy in Alabama, after 153 years, Milner Rushing Discount Drug in Florence had to sell their pharmacy to Walgreens.
I don't understand.
Deborah Hall says she was a longtime customer of Milner Rushing. That is, until Milner Rushing sold its pharmacy retail business to Walgreens last month.
They were our family. I mean, he and I have been customers for 30 years, and his parents were customers 30 years before that.
The Lawson family, who has owned Milner Rushing since 1977, says in order to stay open, they had to sell the retail pharmacy part of their business. They say it was just too expensive to maintain.
A 26-year-old pharmacy, according to WSFA TV in 12, stated that City Drug, located in the heart of downtown Montgomery, shuttered its doors.
One of Montgomery's oldest pharmacies has closed its doors after nearly a century of business. City Drug, located in the heart of downtown, closed last week.
For 96 years, City Drug has been serving customers in the Montgomery area. Seated across from the Court Square Fountain and statue of Rosa Parks, the building has seen a lot of history in its near century of business.
The demise of these two historic pharmacies are compliments of the greedy PBMs. Remember, PBMs. The PBMs are on a path of total annihilation of independent pharmacies by using illegal techniques such as gag orders, spreading prices, clawbacks, pharmacy scoring, and no transparency by PBMs. Check our edition before this, it'll tell you more about those. A quote from John Bryce, correspondent Lafayette's son. He said, at issue is a pattern of alleged malfeasance by the PBMs in which they overcharge employers for prescription drugs through the health insurance plans that they pay for on behalf of their employees, and then in turn undercompensate pharmacies for the cost of the drugs that they fill prescriptions on. This negative equation leaves the pharmacies taking a net loss, which threatens to force them out of business. As the PBMs have been accused of skimming the difference in a form of embezzlement, where they keep the profits they make from overcharging employers and underpaying pharmacies. I want to give you a personal experience that my wife and I had. Joy, my wife, has been using USAVE Pharmacy for over 8 years in Auburn until last year, when we were informed that Walgreens had purchased them. When I went to fill my wife's generic Dilantin for a seizure disorder that she's been using for the last 42 years, Walgreens informed me that they only had one generic Dilantin, and it was the one that contained an orange dye that made my wife mindless and caused off balance and incapable of doing everyday functions. Walgreens pharmacists said in a non-caring manner that they purchased millions of pills every month and they could not do special orders. Fortunately, we found an independent pharmacy, Thomas Pharmacy, in Opelika, and they had no problem in filling my wife's drug need. And to our surprise, it was even cheaper. Thank God for Thomas Pharmacy that it is still in operation. We need to make sure all Thomas pharmacies throughout this state stay in operation. No more need to go. We've lost over 300 in the last 8 years. Let's don't lose any more. Can you do something to save these pharmacies? Yes, you can. Contact Governor Ivey. Not once, but contact the governor's office daily. Ask the governor to call a special session to reform PBMs and save the Alabama pharmacies from closing their doors daily. Time is nearing their end. Make that call. Save the independent Alabama pharmacy and be informed. Join YouTube Auburns Voice. Auburns with AUBURNS Voice. And also join AlabamaExaminer.com to stay informed. Distribute this video to your friends and on social media. You can make a difference.
Become a part of our Be Informed campaign and be informed.